So the Edgar Allan Poe story that I read was Hop Frog, or it's also known as the Eight Chained Orangutans. This is one, like you said in the description, where you're rooting for the bad guy. It's set in, I would say, like medieval times, where the king and his eight friends, they are tricksters. Well, the king is the trickster, and everybody wants to like him, so they go along with it. They are tricksters, and unfortunately, to Hop Frog's expense, he's the main butt of their jokes. He is a dwarf, which dwarfs do not like to be called that anymore. They are little people, but he is a little person who has a bit of a disfigurement when he walks, probably due to being bow legged or maybe just his legs didn't fully develop. As he is a little person, he probably had achondroplasia, which your bones don't actually grow the way they're supposed to. And there was another one that was taken from a village near him was Geppetta. She was also a little person, but she was more sightly. She looked more as you and I do. She looks more like a human, and not much of disfigurement. She was pretty proportionate, they said, which would be like she's maybe pseudocon. So it's the same thing as, you are a little person, your bones don't grow correctly, but pseudochondroplasia has more of a normal person appearance. Either way, both little people in the strange world, they become friends. They lean on each other. Unfortunately, Hop Frog is the one that is the butt of all the jokes. They are mean to him. They make him do funny, stupid things for their entertainment. And he's called on to do it at a moment's notice. Of course, you see like the old movies where they have like the jester hat and the little bells. And if you watched Game of Thrones, you've seen how Joffrey made the one guy a fool and then he was a little special. So just think of that, only a smaller version. In order for the king's seven friends to remain being his seven friends, they went along with anything that he wanted. So pretty much like the bully in high school. You have a bully, and then there were the other people who wanted to be friends with them, so they go along with whatever he does. Sorry about that. Um, where was I? Oh, so Hop Frog and Geppetta, they form a friendship. And because Geppetta is more of a normal looking person, and of course she's pretty and a female, she uses that a little bit more to her advantage to gain her way through things and to sometimes make it easier for Hop Frog to kind of, I guess, flirt with them to get their attention away from him. It states at the beginning that the king and his friends are rather portly, like they're loud, oily, fat men, which was generally a sign of great significance and wealth back then. Um, they King likes to throw random parties, and he threw a masquerade party. The narrator didn't know why, but he just threw a masquerade party. Some people plan their outfits, it said like a week to a month in advance for it, but of course, the king did not. Him and his friends did not. They waited to the very last minute, and then they decided they would ask Hop Frog for help. So he comes up with this idea to make them all orangutans and chain them together with the idea of like they escaped from their master. So he tells them the idea. They're a little suspect on it, but he tells them that, the goal is to scare the women and to frighten them and everything else. And so the king's like, hey, yeah, let's go with it. So it was actually his birthday the day that they did it. And so I guess the end result was a birthday present to himself. he do 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 do. So he lined all of the king and his friends up. He then put them in a tight, stretchy fabric for underwear and shirt, so kind of like a mesh that you would use, like a mesh sleeve or something. So he put that all on there. Then he covered them in tar. And originally it was supposed to be putting them in feathers, but then they got talked out of it and they covered them in flue, which I tried to look that up. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I'm assuming it's kind of like fur or hair because it said that would make them look more like orangutans. After doing all that, he lines them all up and he wraps chains around them. The king is the first one, so he comes and he wraps a chain around his abdomen, walks down a little bit, wraps it around the other friend, and then just keeps going and going till the end. Once he wraps all the friends, they form a circle, and he takes the remaining chains and links it across at a right angle, so pretty much just making like a crisscross star almost, with humans. So he waits until the clock strikes midnight and the one window that is in the room is shining directly on the middle. He instructed to get the chandelier taken down from the ceiling. So at midnight, the king and his friends all rush into the throne room. They're making noises, they're stumbling, like they're pretty much acting like fools, or as monkeys would if they escaped from the zoo. So they're running around, jumping around. Everybody's well, at first, females were very scared and confused, but then they seen Hop Frog go around, and he kind of like egged on the crowd, which made them think, okay, this is a joke. So then everybody started laughing and having fun. Well, they stood in the middle at one point in time, and Hop Frog was like, oh, I know who these are. So in order to go along with the joke and saying, I will find out who these are, he then hooks the chain into the center, interlinking pieces of the chain for all the 8 men, and it gets pulled higher and higher. Still playing around, he has the fires like, I will find who these men are, puts the flames by them, and pretends like he's figuring out who they are. But he actually lights them on fire, and the chain goes higher and higher and higher to where they're dangling, I think it's like 30 feet above the air. By this time, everybody's panicking, they're freaking out, they're trying to get out, but the king had ordered for all the doors to be locked once they entered, and that the key actually was given to Hop Frog. So nobody could escape. They had to see what was going on, they had to be a part of it. And then Hop Frog did a little speech, pretty much saying, this is my last jest, this is my last joke. And him and Tripetta ran away and lived happily ever after. Like I said, this would be his birthday present. For the cause and manner of death, it could be actually a couple things. So the cause of death could either be considered homicide or accident, but it would probably be homicide because Hop Frog premeditated it. But it also could be ruled accident because it wasn't supposed to happen that way. The way that he died could either be from hemorrhages in the bowels or asphyxiation, and of course, being lit on fire. Understanding the facial proportions here on a way to make it an open casket, I honestly would not have any idea how you would do that, just because the fact of they were tarred and, we'll say, feathered and lit on fire. The tar is going to attach to the skin and cause the skin to burn quicker. Of course, the flue or feather, whatever you want to call it, that is going to be something that will accelerate the fire. Through asphyxiation or being just squished in your bowels, you're going to make like the eyes pop out, the nose or the ears pop the tongue pop out, you're going to make those organs pop and hang out. So you would possibly be able to get those back where they belong. But I'm still going to go with that, hey, they were tarred and feathered and put on fire, and I'm not sure a sore from maybe doing facial skin, like complete restoration of the face, is you can cover the rest of it probably, with clothes or plastics, but for the face it would involve almost a complete reconstruction of the face with wax, or using I would say like a piece of cloth that you can kind of make look like skin, but you would definitely have to cauterize the fresh, open, burnt flesh. Um, fucking dog. Okay, before these dogs continue to bark, this is my interpretation. I know I didn't do as much as how I would restore it, because honestly this would be one case where I would definitely have to call somebody for help. So yeah, if I came into something like this, I would probably be reaching out to you at some point to figure out how can you help me. Alright, thank you.